Hey, I'm Ryan Lutz. I'm really excited to be here at the Rauschenberg Gallery here in beautiful Fort Myers, Florida. I always tell people this is the best kept secret in Fort Myers. So we are here at the Bradley Jeffries exhibition, and we've got a really special guest here, someone who spent 26 years collaborating with Bob as his fabricator. So it's really awesome to have Lawrence Voytek to talk about some of these pieces, and he's going to walk you through the exhibition now. This is Lawrence Voytek.
So let's talk a little bit about the art in this show. I started in '82, and I was with Bob when he took his last breath in the studio in 2008. Bradley was there the day I showed up, and Bob made gifts for people, and they were always gifts of love. So a lot of these were done in Bob's print shop, and these are Rauschenberg transfers. I don't know if people know how that's done, but Bob would take a piece of paper. He had piles and piles of cut out of magazines images, and he would choose this. He put some paint down, he put an image in, he ran it through the transfer press, took off the tin pan, and the ink from the magazine, the solvents, pushed it into the paper. All these gifts that Bob gave Bradley, this Xmas present for Bradley, the years, it's not in chronological order, so things come and go, but Bob knew Bradley so well. Bob knew what Bradley loved, and you get a sense of Bradley. They're like self-portraits, not self-portraits, but there's portraits of the person that Bob gave them to. And so each little tiny print, like this one over here, the Huskies. Bob had dogs. Star was one of Bob's dogs that Bradley loved dearly, and she'd always be in Star's face. And it's just like the freedom of the dogs running. And the flowers, the colors are so Bradley. And this over here, this in the back. This is the Quarter Mile book when it went to Yulon, China, and it's open to the page where Bradley is, and it's the first person. Bob called this the army. If you flipped it over, I think there's like 20 so people. The first person here is Terry Van Brunt, who was Bob's companion at the time. And the next person is Bradley. You can't really see the details really close, but all these little images, they're transfers onto, he had Bradley lay on the panel, and he drew around Bradley. He wanted to catch the spirit of the people, and he said he needed his army to produce his work. And Bradley was the second one in the army that he portrayed. This is gorgeous, just a horse running on the beach. It's one image transfer. Bob did a brush stroke of acrylic paint first. The blue, when you transfer on top of paper or on paint, it picks up the inks differently, and so the nature of the drawing is just magical. Let me
ask a question, Lawrence.
Sure.
So you talked about the army. Who are the other people in this?
Well, there's more people in this.
Okay.
I am farther down the road.
So how many people were in this army?
There's about 22, I think.
And so this is the Quarter Mile?
This is in the Quarter Mile. It's part of the Quarter Mile. And Bob, some of the one with the hand up in the air right there, that's Emil Frey, who was Bradley Jeffries' husband. This is Daryl Podorf with the green hair. This is Terry Van Brunt. This is Dora, Bob's mother, Dora Rauschenberg. And Bob's name, Dora gave Bob's name, he was Milton, and Bob didn't like Milton, but every time his mother came to town, she would call him Milton, which was always, oh, Milton, would you, Milton? And then it keeps going. I'm in the quarter mile too. Bob is in the quarter mile. He had Terry Van Brunt trace him, and I'm actually on the right side of Bob on the quarter mile. Okay. And I'm bent over, it looks like I'm working. So it's kind of like I'm the right-hand man kind of stuff.
Very cool.
This is a ROCI, Rauschenberg Overseas Cultural Interchange. It's named after Bob's turtle, which is on the cover. Bob went to 11 countries, and Bob believed that we should wage peace, not war. And we needed to learn about one another, to care about one another. He said our differences, it's what makes us special. We should learn to love that things are different. Bob, he went to China, Russia, Germany, Malaysia, Mexico, Chile, Venezuela, and just the works, he traveled to the country, went there, collected objects, photographed, we made silk screens, came back, and he did, and this show was at the National Gallery of Art. It was the first one-man show of a living artist at the National Gallery. And this is Bob, Daryl, and Bradley. I'm not sure who else that is. This is with neon bike. Bob did a dozen bikes with neon, different colors. This is the first one that was all white, and this was at the bottom of the stairway when you came down to the Guggenheim Museum in his retrospective. It was on the bottom of the spiral. So we could take each piece apart, but there's so much. This is Bradley and Don Sath. This is something I made when Bob died, and he's up in heaven. Bob, for Pete's sake, do you have to change everything? So it's what it is. And this is Bob and Bradley. And Bradley was always there, communicating with everyone. If you called to talk to Bob, you could have been the President of the United States. You better be nice to Bradley, or you weren't going to get through to Bob. And she had this cartoon from the New Yorker, and it's so much Bradley, where there was a castle being, these crusaders coming after the castle. And in front of the castle gate, there was a woman sitting at a desk, and the head of the army said, "She has no army. No one has ever gotten past the receptionist." So this is different times, different periods, different ways of working. This one's a little bit later. This is from the Waterworks series. This is when later on Laury Getford came up with a way where we could do digital color photos and transfer with water onto paper. And this is one of the Waterworks, so it's an earlier piece, which is different than the solvent transfers. The solvent transfers, these images came from magazines, and actually Bob got in trouble because one of the photographers that was famous, Bob took his images, used them, and did multiples, and they basically said, and they had a lawsuit, and they told Bob, okay, you can't do that anymore. You know that you have to use something with permission or use your own work. And that's one of the reasons why Bob got into silk screens again. He was in the 60s, but in the 80s, he spread into it where he used his own photographs, he traveled the world, and we were racing to make the screens. I mean, I saw a machine that this light bright, and it was a professional stretching machine for silk screens. And I said, well, how many can you stretch on a good day? And he said, oh, we could do 12 or 20. Our stretching machine, we could do 30 or 40 a day. And Bob was wanting the screens fast, so we'd print them up. This is a waterwork transfer. This is Bob's place in Manhattan, 381, back in the day when it was all graffitied and messed up. And Basquiat was like right around the corner, and this was where Bob lived. And when I first went to Bob's place, Bob had a show coming up at Leo Castelli. I got there before Bob. I was staying in Bob's bedroom, and in the corner was Duchamps wine rack. And I knew from art history, it's like, oh my God. And I went over and I picked it up, and it said, "For Bob, Marcel Duchamp" on the bottom of it. And so it's like, okay, I'm staying in Bob's house. This is an apron, and this is a silk screen. So I think in this show, it might be the only silk screen in this. So these are Bob's photographs, and we made the screens, and almost all of ROCI and all the works on metals, the Borealises, the Urban Bourbons, were done with these silk screens. And Bob gave this out as a present one Christmas. I think there's about 20. Each one is unique. He'd pull out a screen, he'd print it. He'd pull out a screen, he'd print something else.
Hi, this is Ryan, and that ends the video part number 1. You can go and watch the second part now. Again, that is the halfway point of these videos on the Rauschenberg exhibition, Gift in Your Pocket, and you can watch the second part now.